This is The Follow Through, a podcast series presented by the Free Relief Golf Podcast. Thank you for subscribing to this bonus content and welcome to #Team Freddie. It's great to have you here supporting my journey and I hope you enjoy following along as I document my golfing progress throughout the competitive season. Without much further ado, let's give you what you came here for. Hello and welcome to The Follow Through, presented by the Free Relief Golf Podcast. If you're listening to this, then you've chosen to subscribe to this bonus series of podcasts, and I'm very grateful to you for your financial help in supporting my golfing season. For this episode, we're playing in the local club's gold medal, organised by the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews. The competition itself is a 36-hole stroke play event held annually on the old course at St Andrews to determine the champion of the links. It is considered to be the stroke play championship of St Andrews and always has a deeply strong field in terms of handicap, with a field of 60 this year only containing 3 scratch handicaps after the initial ballot of entries. Everyone else was a plus handicapper. Going into this tournament, my handicap still sat at plus 1.2 exactly, and we were feeling somewhat confident of producing a result given our past performances in this competition specifically. In 2020, I had my highest finish in the gold medal so far of 9th after 2 rounds of level par, and in 2021, I made the cut with a 1 over par 73 before blowing up in the afternoon, which is an entirely different story altogether. The winner of the gold medal received an invitation from the St Andrews Links to represent the local clubs in the St Andrews Links Trophy, which, as you may know from listening to the Free Relief Golf podcast episodes on the St Andrews Links Trophy, there's 2 of them if you want to go check them out if you haven't already done so. It's an elite amateur event with a star-studded international field, considered to be one of the most prestigious stroke play amateur competitions in the world. So there is a very high incentive to play well in this event for both the acclaim and opportunities that the winner receives. With all that being said, let's get on with it. Let's start with my thoughts before the tournament began. Okay, so just a quick word before we get out there for the R&A Local Clubs Gold Medal today. As I may have explained in the intro, it's the best 60 players in St Andrews by handicap. There's only a few guys off scratch here with how the new system is, and everyone else is plus. Proper field today. On the old course, 18 holes, then a cut, top 12 and tyres. And then the top 12 and tyres get to play another 18 holes on a Sunday on the old course. So it's quite special because it's organised by the R&A. They know exactly what they're doing. It's special even more so this year. It's special every year, but it's special even more so this year because of the grandstands being up. As I can see from my car here, I'm looking, and there's the yellow leaderboard that's synonymous with the Open Championship. Of course, the Open is going to be on the old course this year, 2022. So everyone's building up to that, and you can see all the infrastructure. It's really happening. They've got all the leaderboards kind of going up out there, all the screens, all the standing areas. It's really quite an amphitheatre for golf right now, and today we get to compete on it, so that's really exciting. But yeah, so in terms of the game, in terms of my expectations, the last 2 years, or the last 2 times I've played this tournament, end of 2020 and then this time last year in 21, I've made the cut. I've made the top 12 and tyres. I believe in 2020 I shot a level par to make the cut and then followed up with another level par. Last year I think I shot a 1 over par, which made the cut on the number. So I made the cut on the number both times. And then the second round last year, it's a whole story which I won't go into. If you want to hear it, you can hear it in my St Andrews Links Trophy episode last year. I talk about the gold medal and my interesting experiences in that. That's on the normal Free Relief Golf podcast. But yeah, so the afternoon didn't go great last year, but I still made the cut regardless. So this year we are expecting to make the cut. And I've been playing well enough to do it, to be fair. I've been hitting balls this week. I've been in the indoor golf centre, signed up for another month membership of that. Hit balls in there 4 days this week. At least 100 every day. Not that that matters, but they've been quality golf balls and I've really started finding my striking. I'm hitting it with good spin. Gradually reining in the numbers as well. That's been the biggest thing, is actually clubbing correctly with the new distance I've put on in the gym. It's at least 10 yards in most cases. So last night, I just went through. I've got a yardage book I'm going to use today, even though I know the old course quite well, and I've caddied round here. I've done 400 rounds on the links and played here potentially coming up to 100 times now. I've never really kept track, but I've played here plenty, and normally I don't use a book, but I have been, and I've enjoyed the process of using the book at all these other tournaments I've been playing. Craig Miller Battle, well, actually Craig Miller didn't have a book, did it? Playing all these away courses with yardage books, I've just got into a process. So today I've dug out my old caddy book. We're going to follow that. We're going to be writing down the numbers and just figuring it out. We're expecting some funky pins. Generally, the RNA set this up pretty fair. It's the RNA Golf Club that organised this, their tournament committee. Not the RNA organisation that organises the Open itself. But they normally set it up pretty fair with some flags that are testing. But, if you miss them, you can make pars. It just makes it harder. They're not ridiculously stupid. They're just normally fair pins. So, but they do like to tuck them away. Certainly last year, definitely the fourth hole, it was back left in between the big bunker on the left-hand side and the bunkers over the top on a slither of green that was there. 16 was a similar situation. There were definitely some flags last year that were actually disgusting. So hopefully there's none of those this year. I guess time will tell. But just looking forward to a good, fair test. Lots of good players in this field. We're expecting to make the cut. I actually haven't put much work into my putting this week, so my putting felt quite good. I put in a lot of work when I was at home in Essex, and I've had a couple of games this week. I played Scots Craig on Tuesday, which is nearby. It's in Tayport, which is still in Fife, and I think I shot about 5 over there, something like that. I was 5 over through 5 and ended up 5 over, but my holing out was pretty good on those smooth greens. And I had a game on the New on Wednesday with my friend Colin. If you want to hear the episode, I ended up recording a podcast episode of him that evening. If you want to hear that, that's on the channel. That's the Lytham Trophy episode with Colin Edgar. But we had a game on the New, and I beat him. And he said he had been to work that day, to be fair, and I'd been practicing, so I was a bit sharper than him. But I beat him, and that was confidence boosting. And my holing out was really good. I made great putts 16, 17, 18, and they meant something, and it was good pressure practice, and some other practice I've done this week. So my putting's felt in good shape. That's kind of where we're at today. I'm expecting the greens to be pretty smooth, and I'm expecting to be able to make putts, I guess. Give myself some birdie putts. Just got to be able to piece around together. That Scots Craig round, that 5-team championship round the other week, 5 over, 6 over, just not making enough birdie putts, and I'm making too many bogeys. And it's as simple as that. And once we start making a few more birdie putts, get the momentum going, and then that helps you keep the pars going because you've got something to fight for. That's all. It just feels like a switch that just needs to flick, and hopefully today's the day. And if there's any chance of it happening, today's the day, because it's the old course. So one of the courses I know probably better than anywhere else. So it'd be nice to have a good result today, because if you win it, you get a spot in the Links Trophy, which I actually got rejected from the other week. Didn't even get put on a reserve list, which is fair enough, because they did the cut for their field based on world ranking. Don't have a world ranking. But this is always a backdoor possibility of being able to get into the Links Trophy by winning today. So someone today is going to get a spot in the Links Trophy, if they're not already in it, by winning the gold medal. And yeah, so we've got high hopes. The practice has gone well this week. I've been up the Dukes as well. I'm a member up there, been using the par 3 practice loop down there, been practicing with my friend Zach, did a few games against each other. That was just good pressure practice, and that's helped me feel more comfortable with stuff as well, pitch shots, and we actually went as far back as long iron shots as well. So practice has been good. It feels like it's been productive. It feels like I'm a better player than I was this time last week when we played the 5 teams. And even last week I wasn't playing too badly. So we're getting there. Good things. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm playing well. At some point something good will happen. If it doesn't happen today, then I can deal with it. But hopefully it does happen today, because there's rewards on offer, and it would be nice to do well. So that's how we're feeling going into gold medal. I'll be back later with an update. Okay, so it's the end of play on Sunday. RNA Local Club's gold medal. I've waited to the end of play to do my update,
because I just wanted to see what a winning score would be. And the boy who won it, 7 under. Second place was 4 under. A couple of people finished on 3 under. In the end of the cut for the top 12 was level par. And unfortunately, in that first round, I shot 4 over par, 76, which of course is no good. I ended up about middle of the pack, 30. I think I wasn't on the first page of the leaderboard, let's put it that way. So in the 30 somethings out of 60. So just in mediocrity, mediocre middle ground, just a kind of meh, bleh kind of day. And I actually played all right. I felt surprisingly calm when I was out there. I felt prepared, went through all my shots in my book. I actually had a pretty poor start and managed to stay calm throughout that. At the first hole, as everyone knows on the old course, you got the burn at the front, hit a good hybrid off the tee and put a wedge straight in the burn. Pin was kind of front left, but it wasn't properly tucked. You had about 12 yards of room onto that green. And just hit a weak wedge off a little downslope, straight into that burn, and then hit the flag of my chip shot, nearly chipped it in, ended up about a foot away, tapped in for the 5, and that kind of, I was settled already, but, and then just little things like par 2, good birdie putt at 3, just missed it, par 4, 3 putted for par at the 5th, having hit a 6-iron into that par 5. Good birdie attempt at 6, didn't make it, had a short putt at, not a short putt at 7, I had about a 10-footer, 8-footer for birdie, missed it. Good putter at 8, there were some funky flags, not impossible, but 8 was one of them. It was kind of back left in a dip and a side slope simultaneously. It kind of had slopes going all around it, and it was in a back left I hit, and it was 196 today, so I hit a 4-iron pin high, 2 putt. I actually found the greens quite slick as well. Everyone I've spoken to has found them really slow, and I don't know where they've been playing because I ended up running putts quite a way past. I was hitting a lot of good putts today, but just I wasn't making the birdies, and when I had an opportunity to make a bogey on that back 9, I did. So I parred 9 and I turned in 1 over, which felt, it was playing tricky. It didn't feel easy, but normally in this tournament, as I said before, level par, I'd got in on 1 over last year, but level par normally does it. So you're still thinking, give yourself some chances. You know the back nine's going to be a bit tougher as it always is on the old course. The wind was going to be slightly into off the left. Nearly drove a 10th green with my 3-wood. I didn't hit driver today at all. I just stuck with 3-woods and hybrids because they're, long story short, they're going further at the moment. My driver, there's something a bit wrong with it. It's just spinning way too much. It's spinning like my 4 or 5 irons, just from what I've seen in the simulator. And so I started that away. And actually, the problem was not off tee today. I was hitting 3-woods and hybrids well, putting in position, but had a, 6-7 footer for birdie at 10, miss it. It had a bit of a right to left break. I just underread it a slight bit, but just couldn't build up any momentum. Bogey 11, the par 3, the pin was back right, wind off the right, just trying to ride the wind with a 6-iron, and it kind of caught. There's a Strath bunker that guards the front middle of the green. I missed it to the right down a slope. Had to putt up 3 different tiers, nearly de-greened it long. Actually hit a really good first putt that just kept going, and then made a bogey, didn't make the comebacker. Birdied the 12, stuck a 70-yard wedge shot to a foot, nearly holed it actually. It rolled just past off the lip. So that was a birdie that got me back to 1 over with 6 to play, and the 6 holes weren't going to be easy, but as it transpired, the cut was level, so I needed to be 1 under for those last 6, and I'm not entirely sure it was out there. It obviously was because people did it, but for me, I was playing well enough, I was striking the ball well enough today, but I just wasn't hitting it close enough for birdies. When I was getting there, I just didn't have the momentum to make the putts. I wasn't seeing the ball go in the hole. And when I was hitting it to 50 foot, which with some of the flags where they were tucked, you kind of had no choice. On the 15th, that was a classic example. So I bogeyed to 13, kind of from nowhere, had a full horseshoe from short range. With one of the putts, parred 14, and 15, the flag was sick. It was over the left-hand bunker, if you can picture it. It's a par 4, it's like 410 yards, and big bunker on the left, and above this bunker that sticks properly up and out of the ground, there's a big downslope. And today, if you were on the left-hand side of the fairway, you were coming kind of down the wind. It wasn't hurting as much from left side of the fairway. As it is, I stuck it in the left side in the rough, so I had absolutely no spin coming out of that, and that's why it was such a good flag, was you had to be out the fairway to try and attack it. And I did really well to land it over the bunker, but you were landing on a downslope with no spin, kind of down the wind. And I managed to get it to hold the back of the green. Pin was on a little pimple, if anything, just sloped away all sides. If you went long, if you went short, if you went right or left, it would just fall away. And that's exactly what happened. Stuck it to 7 foot, missed the putt. 3 over at that point. Bogey 16 by... I had to get aggressive at that point. The rough is up. I hadn't played the old in a little while, and the rough is up. It's getting to that. It's not open length yet, but they're clearly not cutting it, and they're not going to until July. We're speaking today, was it May 15th? They're not going to be cutting it for another 2 months, and it's already pretty heinous. So you have to back yourself and go for the fairways if you're going to. So I tried to hit a hybrid down the alleyway to the right of the principal's nose on the 16th hole of the old, and didn't hit it right enough because the wind was going left to right, and I guess the fear is to just leak it right, which is an irrational fear because I haven't been leaking my hybrid right. But you don't want to go out of bounds and just completely blow up, and ended up catching Deacon Sign bunker, which is beyond the principal's nose, about 255 out there with my hybrid. So I was hitting it at a distance. Then he splashed out, made the bogey, and then I actually finished par. Made a good par at 17, good par at 18. I had a birdie chance at 18, which just didn't turn, and 17, I hit it to the front of the green and hit a really good 2-putt. So that's kind of how the round went, but it was just one of those where I'm hitting the ball pretty well. The putts I'm hitting feel really good, but my pace control is just not there, especially when I hit it to 30, 40 foot, which is going to happen in rounds of golf. You're not always going to hit it to 8, 10 feet. From that distance, I'm feeling really good. It feels like I'm hitting lots of good putts, and after having a year last year where I was just struggling to hit putts, it feels great to be in a place where I'm actually playing golf now, but now we've got to refine that. And okay, today I had one of those days where I didn't make the 8, 10 footers, but from 30 to 40 feet, I can't keep 3-putting like this because I've been doing it everywhere I've been travelling. And I know I've been playing different courses where the grasses are different and it all takes an adjustment. But I'm giving away a lot of 3-putt bogeys away at the moment, which in a way is a good sign because it means I'm hitting a lot more greens, and it means that my bad shots, and I was thinking about this earlier actually, that it always used to be the case if I hit a good shot I'd hit it close, but my bad shots were pretty bad, so it meant I had a lot of chips and I'd be making a lot of up and downs because my chipping's pretty good, so I'd be sticking it pretty close, make the putts, you build momentum that way, and almost missing greens helps you build momentum because you're making good par saves and you kind of pat yourself on the back and you think you're doing okay. And today I hit 15 greens on the old, which, if you know the old course, the greens are massive, so you should be hitting a lot of greens at any good standard of player. So that's not an achievement in itself, but as a result of doing that on this day, you've got to be prepared to be 2-putting from distance. And I've put in putting practice the other week, I haven't put in as much this week with how the weather's been and prioritising other aspects of the game. This week, in the build-up to Club Championship, which the qualifying is next Sunday, Club Championship through the new club, I'm going to practice my pace putting so hard because I really feel like I'm not far away. I'm actually, certainly from distance, I'm shaving the holes. You got to trust me when I tell you that I'm shaving the holes from 30, 40 feet. I'm giving them good runs, and the problem is I'm giving them too good a run. The putts are feeling really nice. They're clicking off the face, but you're not meant to make putts from that distance. So your percentage of chance of making them must be below 5%. So all you're trying to do is 2-putt. And you're not aiming to 2-putt, you're still trying to make it. But, if you get the pace right, I need to start leaving myself 2 3-footers instead of 6 7-footers. And that's going to really transform my game in a subtle way, because right now I'm hitting the ball well, I'm putting well, short game's in pretty good working order given the practice I've done this week up at the Dukes and other things as well. We're getting the wedges a bit closer, even though I'm still not trying to leave myself wedges because I'm still laying up in a lot of places just to have fuller shots because I'm trying that strategy. And yeah, so it's just a lot of things. My game's up in the air at the moment. I feel like today my clubbing was really good. I feel like when I left myself long distances, it was more due to misexecution rather than poor clubbing. So that's a really good sign. And the misexecutions were only subtle. It was like maybe slightly fat or maybe slightly clean, just went one groove too low or something like that. Just minor misexecutions where it just costs you slightly. But I think in this coming week, you know, watching the boys come in who are winning it today, and they're all shooting under par. Today, just the way it felt for me out in that round, you know, I shot 4 over. And I've had a few of these rounds recently where you just don't build up the momentum early. And I feel like that's just what needs to click for me right now. I need to build up the momentum early, just get 1 or 2 under, get comfortable into it, and then you're just picking off shots. It felt like today I was always fighting off bogeys as opposed to just where am I going to pick up my next birdie. And that's how it feels when you play well. When you're shooting under par, you just see good scores. And these boys, Ollie, who won it today, 7 under, they're in a zone right now where they're just trying to see good scores, and that just pulls you closer. If I was aiming for 68 today, that would have pulled me closer to 68, right? And even if I made some bogeys, maybe I'll shoot 71. It's just a mentality. Whereas I think I started today with like level par in mind, and then you just drip a few shots away before you know it, you're 4 over, and then you're really fighting to try and make birdies with how some of the flags were. So, yeah, it's a weird one because when I came off the course earlier, I was absolutely fine. Like, I had a good attitude all day. I tried my hardest, and I'm learning that that is all I can do. And I've been in the habit in recent years of, you know, beat yourself up for a performance, and that's my motivation to go practice the next week. And I'm trying to get out of that. I'm trying to just have the motivation to practice anyway because I want to be a good player. But I still have this weird feeling of just feeling a bit guilty for not feeling so sad. I feel like me taking it well and having a good attitude is almost an admission of not caring. And clearly I do care, but I don't know, it's just something I'm trying to straighten up in my head, just trying to get the thought processes right. And I feel like I'm doing a lot of good things right now, and just I'm not getting the reward yet. But golf is one of those games, as you know, if you're listening to this, you're obviously keen into your golf. Golf is one of those games where you keep putting in the work, and eventually, maybe at the time when you least suspect it, you get rewarded. And today would have been a nice day to be rewarded for the work I've been putting in, but it wasn't the day. So we've got Club Championship next week. Maybe that's going to be the day. And if it isn't, then maybe it'll be a tournament after it. Maybe it'll be Tennant Cup. Maybe it'll be Scottish Amateur. We've got so many tournaments coming up. There's always another tournament. And all you can do is just pick the bones out of what you've done and take it away and go and improve. And what I've learned today is my ball striking is getting so much better that I'm hitting greens. And if anything, what I've learned is that my chipping is a lot better than my 40, 50 foot putting. And that's where we're going to improve this week. And that's a valuable lesson. My course strategy is improving all the time. And if I keep doing the right things, I was proud today. You know, I had my yardage book and I was writing things out, and I still kept with the pace of play, and I didn't hold anyone up. And that's always something I seem to care about for some reason. But I'm refining my process, and when it matters most, it will come good for me. I've just got to keep doing the right things. And the funny thing is, I really believe that, and that's almost the reason why I'm not bothered about doing badly in these tournaments recently, is that I know it will come good, so who cares? But also, I don't want to get lazy and just be like, oh, well, it will come good, so I won't work on it, because I just need to keep working. So this week, we've got a busy week. I'll be in Loch Lomond on Wednesday, Thursday. Got a really rainy day coming up tomorrow, so I'll go indoor golf. I'll get to the gym. And actually, that's something I may not have mentioned earlier on, is I went to the gym last night just to my trainer, when I went back to Essex, he was saying about doing 5 out of 10 workouts the day before a competition, and it really worked. I woke up this morning, my body felt great. So that's encouragement to keep going to the gym. I've not been going as much as I should have been going. Maybe I've been going once a week instead of 3 or 4 times a week, just to 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10 workouts, just to keep loose and maintain the gains that I've built up in January, February especially. That's something else I've learned as well. So this is all valuable stuff, and it's still only May, and it's a weird feeling because in St Andrews, all the big tournaments are in May, and then once you get to June, it feels like it's all over. But ultimately, the worldwide golf season is only just beginning. So it feels like a race against time. It really isn't. Lots of things to take away from it. We're going to practice. We're going to get better. Not much more to say on it, really. I'm sat in my car. I'm looking at the grandstands. Open qualifying's another one that's coming up in June. You just never know. And that's what keeps us going. It's that elusive dream. Right. That's enough rubbish chat. We go again next week.
So those were all my thoughts from the heat of the battle and the heat of the moment. And we've had a few days to reflect, and here are some of my reflections after shooting that 76 4 over par in the local club's gold medal to miss the cut by 4 in the end. It was level par. So do I still agree with my immediate post-game evaluation? Well, I can say with certainty, after having had enough experience of golf and tournaments in the past, over the years, I know that good results will come along if I keep on plugging away with the purposeful practice. And I know that just sounds like philosophical nonsense, but I've experienced it before. You put in the practice, you will always be rewarded. It may not be at the times that you want it to be. It may not peak for the competition that you want it to peak for, but you will peak for something. And I've just got to keep trusting that that is the case. I do agree with the evaluation of my thought process when out on the golf course during tournaments. I think my decisions have been improving in general, and in some instances it is just execution that has let me down in recent times, which is a contrast to April, where I felt my execution was spot on, but the decisions maybe weren't quite there. So it feels now I'm making better decisions. You know, going on the old course, taking a yardage book out isn't something I normally do. Having caddied there for, on the St Andrews Links for up and over 400 rounds on the old course, certainly in the high hundreds of rounds, and having played there many, many times, normally it's a course that I'd consider a home course that I know off the back of my hand, but to take a yardage book out there, figure out my numbers without slowing up play, I think it really helped me focus. I don't think it took away and overcomplicated things for me. I think it just helped focus the number that I needed, helped me figure out the wind, and helped me commit to my shots a lot better. But right now, the execution just is letting me down a little bit. The ball striking is definitely off the level that I reached in April for the Craig Miller Park Open and the Battle Trophy, but I'd still say the ball striking is more than good enough to be able to piece together a decent round. I was also positive about my return to the gym when referring to my 5 out of 10 and 7 out of 10 workouts to help keep my body in shape after the work I did in the off-season in the gym. It was good to have my body feeling loose and warmed up, ready for the start of the gold medal. But with some hindsight, lifting any sort of weight, albeit lighter than I've previously lifted, it could have some sort of impact on my swing feels, and that's something I need to keep an eye on, because I've had some sessions recently where at my peak I was deadlifting, for example, 160, 165 kilos. So literally taking a 7 out of 10 and trying to do the maths, I've been lifting around 100 kilos doing the deadlifts, which, while relatively is lighter, it's still a significant weight in its own right. And that might just be, my ball striking's gone off the boil a little bit, just a little bit compared to April. So that might be something I have to keep an eye on, because I am still lifting some weight. And maybe, certainly last year, lifting a lot of weight throughout the season was not beneficial to my game. So we're just trying to figure out the right level, and maybe we're just stepping over the mark a bit, but we'll keep an eye on it. So what else have I learned, and how will I build upon this performance moving forward? Well, I think I've learned I need to trust my process. Whatever I did to reach the levels I reached at the end of April, mid to end of April, wherever I did, it worked. So there's no point in deviating too much from that process of playing and practicing every day just to keep on top of things. I'm learning all the time with regard to course strategies and refining my play from the tees to leave myself the nicest numbers in. I think one thing I've learned is that maybe I've been giving myself too much work. I need to be a bit more aggressive off the tees, but that's a constant learning process. And one thing for sure is that I need to have better starts to these rounds. I need to be able to build momentum and find some momentum worth keeping later in these competitive rounds, because otherwise I keep finding that I'm behind the 8 ball before I've even started. And the bogey at the first in the gold medal typified this. Yes, as I said in my post-round thoughts, it showed me that my head was in an accepting place that day, and that my touch was there, playing a little pitch shot off a tight down slope over a swilk and burn with not loads of green to work with and hitting the flag. That's a good sign. That means your touch is there. But really, it was a bogey resulting from having a wedge in my hand. I should not have been there in the first place. I'm a +1 handicapper. I've been better as well, and it's... I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be so accepting of such mediocrity. The wedge was bad. Maybe I shouldn't be accepting of that. Maybe I should be irritated. Maybe I should be angry. I always have high standards that I'm looking to uphold, and perhaps a competitive round isn't the place to be hard on myself. So it's good to be accepting. Certainly in the past, that's been my experience. It's good to have a level head in these situations. However, at some point, I've got to start being more dialed with my approach shots in general, so I can push on from the start and make birdies. One of my playing partners made 4 birdies in a row to start his round. That they were completely out there. The weather conditions dictated it, and you had to get a score early doors. And instead, I bogeyed the first and put myself right up against it early. And then it's just this idea that I keep putting myself behind early and then have to make it up, and then you get yourself back to level par, perhaps having gone a few over early. And wouldn't it just be nice to start off with a couple of pars and then get to 2 or 3 under, and now you feel on a good round, the adrenaline kicks in, it helps you with your shot making, your decisions later on. It just helps you stay sharp when it matters most, instead of feeling like I did in the gold medal, which was just a bit flat in general, kind of no momentum, fighting against it the whole time, really, just against the momentum of the round. So if I can be more dialed with the approach shots, we can push from the start, make birdies, rather than starting weakly and constantly playing catch-up, which is how it feels right now. My wedges in particular need to be dialed, and I need to expect that from myself when competing. And the next time I'll be properly competing will be at the Tennant Cup, hosted by Glasgow Golf Club, over their Glasgow Gales and Killamont courses. That's enough about the gold medal. It's just a very run-of-the-mill result that we're probably going to forget very soon. There's things to take from it, but very forgettable overall. So Tennant Cup's the next big one, and I hope you can join me for that. Thank you for subscribing and supporting my golfing journey. Your help is much appreciated, and I'm looking forward to hopefully sharing some more positive news with you throughout the remainder of the season. Until then, I've been Freddie. You've been lovely. See you next time.